without really thinking too hard, and then stop and figure out what you did so that you can do it on purpose again later. Give it some juice. Like, the more you practice that kind of thing, the more it will just kind of get into your fingers, and then you won't have to think about it very hard. Hey everybody, welcome to those of you who could make it today. I've been wanting to do something like this for a long time. I hope you can all hear me okay and see me okay. It looks like everything's working just fine. Yeah, but basically, if you're used to seeing like live stream hangouts, this I think was going to be a little more chill version, and I thought it might be cool for me to kind of have some of my own medicine and show you, like, for example, hi Brian, hi Greylight, to show you that I'm a little rusty on soloing, for example. It's just something I haven't been practicing very much, and I thought, since I've been doing a lot of lessons about one aspect of soloing, which is with the caged soloing series, the new one especially, I'm really trying to drill down on like being able to see specific shapes. And I wanted to sort of talk about how this isn't the only way to go about doing things. So, yeah. I did a practice thought recently about this idea of like really thoughtful, deliberate practice where you know what you're doing the whole time, and then sort of loose, letting go and not thinking too hard and kind of just doing. And I thought it would be kind of cool to try to give some examples of what that looks like in real time. And since I'm kind of rusty, I think it would be fun for me to sort of pinpoint the kinds of things I want to work on, and you can see me practicing soloing, which is different than taking solos. I'm probably going to mess up a lot. I'm probably going to screw around too much, and I don't know. We'll see what happens. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to screw around. And this is the opposite of very careful paying close attention to the chords. I'm going to warm up my fingers a little bit. I'll probably just play through some scales. I'll probably even mess up a bit because, like I said, I'm kind of rusty, but we'll see what happens. Let's just listen to this track, and I'm going to noodle. And if you've got questions, I'll just I'll stop and talk about it. But, so we're in D minor. Okay. Oh, not yet. I jumped the gun on that chord tone. So, that was kind of a warm-up. And what I did was I wandered from not thinking very hard, playing scales, and then thinking a little bit critically as I stumbled upon things that I liked, and I went, I'm going to play around with that a little bit more. And the thing is, the more that you kind of get critical and specific with what you're doing, the more you start noticing, oh, I landed on the 5, or I landed on the 7 of this chord, or I landed on the 9, and I really like that. And you start kind of finding those things. And what happens when you practice, even just on kind of a micro scale like that, of explore without really thinking too hard, and then stop and figure out what you did so that you can do it on purpose again later, that's really important. It's really easy to become a perfectionist about any one particular thing, like focusing on chord tones a la caged soloing. But the more you practice that kind of thing, the more it will just kind of get into your fingers, and then you won't have to think about it very hard. And if you practice doing it really rigidly, it'll start integrating loosely into what you do, if that makes sense. Maybe what I'll do in this practice here is I'll let go of everything, and I won't even worry about necessarily moving around the whole guitar neck, where just now my main focus was trying to play up and down the neck a bit. And I'm actually kind of rusty on some of those shapes, and I'll have to practice that. And maybe I'll come back to it. If anyone wants me to come back to that, I can. But another way to think about practicing is just focus on one thing. And this time, I think what I want to focus on is making phrases. And I'm going to let go of chord tones. If I happen to stumble upon them, I will. But if you've watched my melody making series, then you know I like to remove a note at the end, or add a couple notes, or remove a couple notes, or diatonically transpose, or try to play that thing backwards. And I'll just see what I can do, kind of sloppy, just making phrases. Any phrase that I like, I'll try to morph it as much as I can. And this is just like focus on one thing, ignore everything else. Chord tones, I don't care. Here we go. Whoa. That's kind of fun. So yeah, so that's like really focusing on phrasing and just kind of not worrying about too much else. A couple weird flubs in there, and I feel like on camera sometimes I still hesitate to like let loose as much as I can and like really reach for mistakes, but maybe we can venture into some territory where I'm like, yes, I'm gonna make mistakes now while I attempt things that are difficult. Mateus says, question if possible. I like soloing like you, slow, like singing with the guitar, making big phrases, but my feeling is always that is not soloing, it's making a melody. What exactly is the difference? So, in my opinion, there isn't much difference between making a melody on the fly and soloing. The difference generally is kind of genre-based, I think, because taking a solo, like when someone says, take it, Joe, that can happen in a country band, that can happen in a rock band, that can happen in a bluegrass band. I mean, even, I don't know if you do this, but even classical music, the roots of like Beethoven, and I think Mozart, but definitely Beethoven, he played in like dueling piano bars where you'd have someone take a solo and then they'd play rhythm while the other person took a solo. Granted, it was like, froofy classical at the time, but it was like the hip thing to do was to improvise a section. And of course that was over changes, but the difference between making a melody and playing a solo is pretty subtle. I think you have to answer that specifically on guitar, which I guess I'll do. So let's look at like ABAC phrases, right? Usually when you're doing an ABAC type phrase, what am I trying to say? These will all be melodic phrases. And maybe what will happen with like we'll say traditional, and then with like a rock solo, you'll have a little bit more like A, B, C, C, or even like A, B, C, D. And these are more like, how do I put it? Like exclamations. And I'll show you what I'm talking about. So I'm glad you brought that up. It's a really cool question, and this is my approach to it. So when we're looking at guitar-y kind of situations, if I were to do an ABAC phrase then where I was trying to make a melody, I might go. So that was A, B, A, and then I might go, right? Something like that. That's like a melodic phrase. But if I was going to do something more like A, B, C, D, where these two are exclamations, when I think about guitar exclamations, which is my word for it, I think of something more like, it's like a little more flashy or showy, and it might still be, like almost like when I think of an exclamation, I think of like, yeah, or like the fun example would be like the hype man in a rap, some kind of rap hype man who's like, yeah, like doing something in the background. And I feel like if you think about a C phrase and a D phrase, where it's less about the melodic content and more about like the feel of it or the guitariness of it in a way. So let me play around with that for a minute and see if we can come up with a mix of melodic content and then just screwing around a little bit. Here we go. Hang on, I gotta get situated here. There we go. So let's see. So we got. Right, that's kind of a little not throwaway, but. So, okay, I'm trying to get a little lost in it, but with that one, I was less trying to focus on A phrases and B phrases and more just trying to do a mix of definitely this is a phrase and then a little bit of like, I don't want to say like throwaway stuff, but like exclamations. I mean, if you want to think of exclamations as just like an outpouring of something, and it could be fast, it could be, you know, I mean, sometimes an exclamation can be just like, give it some juice, like, you know, it's like a little emotional accent. How's that? And I think this is the other kind of fun thing about like letting go of one thing while you practice another thing is that we could set up a whole practice of just, I mean, I kind of have done this before with like dynamic practice where you're just focusing on being loud and then being quiet, because I think when you think about how many things there are to focus on or that you could focus on when you play a solo, it's crazy.